Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Tuesday, February 13th. If you're joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. After that, we'll get over to RotoWire, talk about the injuries in play for the 6-game main slate on both sites for today overall. There are going to be two teams on the back-to-back in the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then after that, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks for tonight's slate overall. It's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we had Micic at the point guard position, $3,900, looking for 19-20 Only got 10.75, so it was his second game with the Charlotte Hornets. We don't really fully know what his role is going to be yet at this point in time. Technically, he was a mess, played 21 minutes in this game, only 1 for 3 shooting, so wasn't as efficient in terms of scoring the ball as he was in his first game with them, so a little bit unfortunate there, but a cheaper value play, at least early on in the day, obviously did not end up working out, but you're going to have that from time to time. Then at shooting guard, we had Buddy Hield as our kind of replacement for Alex Caruso. $6,300, looking for 31-32. Got to 44. So he was a really good hit just in general. And then at small forward, we went with Denny Avdia, $5,900, looking for at least 30. Got to 38.25, so he was a hit. At power forward, we had his teammate in Kyle Kuzma, $7,500. We were looking for 37, 38 out of him, got to 33.5. Technically, he was a mess. Mainly just scoring the ball yesterday. I think he played 32 minutes in that game. Maybe could have got like an extra minute or two, but just the fact that it was mainly scoring and a couple of rebounds here and there really limited him overall. And then at center, we had Nikolai Vucevic, $7,900, looking for at least 40. Got to 44.75, so he was a hit. So a little bit hit or miss day on DraftKings yesterday. We had 3 really good hits. We had Kyle Kuzma that kind of underperformed a little bit, and then Micic as our value option that didn't really get there overall. If you had some other good plays alongside this core 5, you still had a pretty decent chance of cashing on yesterday's slate, though. And then on the FanDuel side, we had Micic once again at that point guard position, $5,200, looking for 26. Only got to 9.6, so he was a pretty bad mess on the FanDuel side. Obviously, only played that 21 minutes, 1 for 3 shooting from the field once again. And then at shooting guard, once again, we replaced Alex Caruso with Buddy Hield once Alex Caruso was ruled out. Buddy Hield was $7,100 on FanDuel, so we were looking for 36 out of him. Got to 40.8, so he was a hit there as well. At small forward, we went with RG Barrett, $7,500, looking for 37, 38 out. Only got to 21 yesterday, so he was a mess. It looked like a great matchup on paper versus the San Antonio Spurs, but this Raptors team got blown out in a pretty big way, so he only ultimately ended up playing 24 minutes in this game, mainly point scoring dependent yesterday in those 24 minutes. He was one of the few guys on their team that actually shot decent from the field, 6 for 10, but like the rest of the team shot very, very poorly yesterday overall. Then at power forward, once again, we had Kyle Kuzma, $8,000. Was looking for 40 out of him, got to 31.6, so technically he was a mess. Like I said on DraftKings, mainly scoring dependent yesterday. Obviously had a couple of rebounds here and there, but didn't do too much else. And then at center, we went with John Collins, $6,600. Like the matchup versus the Golden State Warriors yesterday. Was looking for at least 33 out of him. Got to 26.9, so technically he was a mess. Only played 28 minutes in this game, and it was a pretty big blowout overall. So on the FanDuel side, not quite as pretty. You would need some pretty awesome plays to kind of cash yesterday, so a little bit unfortunate over there. But with that being said, it's a new day. It's Tuesday today. And that's the best part about DFS is you get to come back at it the very next day. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's 6-game main slate. So once again, it is a 6-game main slate overall on both sides. We have the first 3 games that are kind of like one grouping, and then the last 3 games that are kind of one grouping just today in general, which makes it a pretty interesting slate overall. Once again, there are 2 teams on the back-to-back in the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're not going to talk too much about them. We'll have updated injury reports for both those teams as the day moves along. But for the Boston Celtics, Jaden Springer and Xavier Tillman both out once again. Both were recently traded to the team. I don't think either one's played at this point in time. And then we got Kristaps Porzingis, questionable to play tonight due to a back injury. We'll see whether or not he is good to go tonight or not. Obviously, if he is unable to go, it will be Al Horford getting that start at that center position, and could be a little interesting value on both sides today. And then for the Brooklyn Nets, we have Cameron Johnson out once again, but otherwise pretty healthy. We did see like Dorian Finney-Smith and a couple other players return in their most recent game. Day'Ron Sharpe is expected back as kind of that backup center for them tonight as well. And then for the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's just Gordon Hayward and Bismack Biyombo out tonight. Neither one has played for the team so far, so pretty similar to what we've seen so far this season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then on the Orlando Magic side, they appear to be all the way healthy at this point in time, which was pretty good since they've had a lot of guys banged up throughout the season. And then we have the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler is out right now. He's dealing with a personal matter because somebody in his family did pass away. So, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Josh Richardson recently separated his shoulder. He's expected out a couple of weeks now. And then Terry Rozier, I can't remember what it was. I think it's a knee injury, but he had an MRI. He's going to be out for a little while as well. And then Duncan Robinson is listed as questionable to play for tonight's game overall. Could be some value opening up on this Miami Heat team in a pretty big way tonight overall, though. So that's definitely a team that we're going to be looking out for their starting lineup and a couple other things as the day moves along. And then once again, the Milwaukee Bucks on the back-to-back. So we'll just have to see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along as well. And then we move down to the Sacramento Kings. We got Sasha Vechenko out once again. And then Chris Duarte listed as questionable to play. Not a major impact on their team overall. And then for the Phoenix Suns, just Damon Lee out once again. He's been out all season. And then we move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. Jaden Daniels was questionable yesterday up until, probably about an hour before game time with his finger injury, played like 24, 25 minutes in that game. We'll see. Maybe they give him the night off. Sometimes this season they have rested Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert on the back-to-back. So if that's the case, Nickeil Alexander-Walker would come into play, and then probably, either Kyle Anderson or Naz Reid in that situation as well. For the Portland Trailblazers, they're without Malcolm Brogdon, Moses Brown, and Shaedon Sharpe all once again. And then we got Scoot Henderson listed as questionable to play. He's been dealing with a foot injury. Anthony Simons listed as probable to play with his ankle injury. And Dop Reith is also listed as probable to play due to a knee injury. Then last but not least, we move down to the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers. For the Pistons side, we got Quentin Grimes and Isaiah Stewart listed as out already. Grimes' news is actually pretty new since he was listed as questionable earlier today when I was putting out my injury report. And then we have Evan Fournier and Malachi Flynn expected to be available to play tonight, but whether or not they are in the rotation remains to be seen at this point in time. And then on the Lakers side, we got Max Christie, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent all out for tonight's game. So pretty similar in terms of injury-wise for the Lakers team. And then we got LeBron James and Anthony Davis obviously listed as questionable to play as per usual, but both are probably expected to play once again tonight. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's 6-game main slate just in general. As always, I will be posting all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day down in the comments below, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. So definitely make sure you're checking up down there as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we are going to start off at the point guard position. Point guard, shooting guard here are going to be very interchangeable since both these guys are eligible at both positions. So it really doesn't matter which spot you put each one in. But we're going to start off with Tyler Hero at that point guard position. Obviously, the Miami Heat are missing a few guys at this point in time, most notably Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier, which is going to be a big benefit to a guy like Tyler Hero tonight. $6,900, you're looking for 34, 35 points out, averaging just over 36 so far in the season. And with that being said, currently I'm projected for 37 fantasy points tonight. Definitely could have some strong upside for more, especially with those guys missing for the Miami Heat. It's going to be Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo pretty much leading the way for this Miami Heat team. Obviously, they have a ton of role players that can definitely step up and typically do in a big way as well, though. And then at shooting guard, we got Malik Monk for the Sacramento Kings, $5,800. You're looking for 29 fantasy points out. That's what he's averaging so far in the season. So it's kind of gone back and forth with him. He's had those long stretches where he's been playing more minutes, playing really well, and then he got kind of cut back again. Kevin Huerter was playing kind of well. Now we're kind of back on the streak as of late where Malik Monk has been playing more minutes as of late, typically around 28 to 30 or more. So definitely do like him once again tonight. As long as he's out there playing those minutes, he's going to look like a pretty good option overall. Currently, I'm projected for 30 fantasy points tonight. And then at small forward, we're going to go with Simone Fontecchio for the Detroit Pistons. He did recently join the team over at the trade deadline. They really just traded Kevin Knox in the second-round pick for him. It's looking like a pretty decent trade for them at this point in time. I think a guy that's probably going to fit in pretty well with what they want to do at this point in time as well. So if he's out there, if he's in that starting lineup, going to look pretty interesting. Once again, $4,700. Looking for 23, 24 fantasy points out. Currently having projected for 27, 28 tonight, so it looks like a really good option overall. And then at power forward, we got Rui Hachimura here, $4,700 as well for this Los Angeles Lakers team. Been in that starting lineup as of late, been playing pretty big minutes. Coming off a pretty strong performance, which he was coming off a pretty lackluster performance before that game as well. But against the Pistons should be a favorable matchup for him tonight. And like I said, you're looking for 23, 24 fantasy points at him. And I currently have him projected for right around 26 tonight. Could have a little bit of upside for more. Could have a little bit downside for less at the same time as well. Then last but not least, at the center position, we got Bam Adebayo here at $8,300. I think there's a lot of different options that you could go with at center on the DraftKings side tonight. You could look at Bam Adebayo, Jalen Duren. You could also look at Rudy Gobert, who's underpriced if he does ultimately end up playing as well. But ultimately, we went with Bam Adebayo here at $8,300. He feels like a guy that typically plays pretty well against the Milwaukee Bucks as well. $8,300, looking for 41, 42 out. Averages just over 43 so far in the season. Obviously, no Jimmy Butler once again tonight, no Terry Rozier. So he's going to take a little bit of a step up in his game. They might run a little bit more of the offense through him. You might get a couple extra assists out of Bam Adebayo tonight. And then if you're getting any of those defensive stats and a little bit of pace-up spot for some Milwaukee Bucks tonight, should be pretty good for him overall. Obviously, a little bit of a blowout risk here, but you never know what you're going to get with the Bucks on any given night. And Miami is a team that typically does play pretty hard and play pretty competitively on a nightly basis as well. But with all that being said, I got Bam Adebayo currently projected for about 44, 45 fantasy points tonight. So he's going to look like a pretty interesting option at that center position today. Maybe even a cash game option. It's probably going to be between him and Jalen Duren for that cash game option at that center position for tonight's slate overall, though. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that do currently have listed, you have $19,600 remaining, just over $6,500 per player. So a pretty similar story to yesterday, looking a little bit more like a balance build type of day. We'll see what other value does pop up as the day moves along, though. But with that being said, we'll move over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So FanDuel side, pricing is a lot tighter, so you're going to see some higher price guys here. Just keep in mind, as the day moves along, we could get some value that does open up as well. But at least early on, at the point guard position, I have D'Angelo Russell here at $7,900. Looking for 39, 40 out of him tonight. It's a great matchup versus the Detroit Pistons, who have really struggled versus point guards this year, allowing them to score a lot of points. D'Angelo Russell's been playing pretty well as of late, been getting some big minutes, and having some pretty solid shooting performances and scoring performances just in general. So right now, I currently have him projected for 38 fantasy points. I know it's a little bit less than what you're looking for out of him, but he does have the upside for more at the same time as well. And then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Anthony Edwards here, $9,100, looking for 45, 46 out of him. Averaging just under 42 so far in the season, but as of late, he's been playing better once again. Good pace-up spot versus the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. If there is no Mike Conley, he might have a couple extra assist opportunities in tonight's game as well. So definitely do like him quite a bit. Currently, I'm projected for about 46, 47 fantasy points tonight. Definitely could have a little bit of upside for more. There's always a little bit of chance for downside for less, too, especially when you're going against the Portland Trail Blazers. Sometimes they do get blown out, so they are a team that should be better on paper, but they don't always play up to their potential at that point in time as well. And then at small forward, we're going to move down to Simone Fontecchio once again. He's $5,600, so $900 more expensive on the FanDuel side tonight. I like him in the starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons. If he's going out there getting decent-sized minutes, should look pretty good overall. You're looking for 28 out. Currently, I'm projected for about 27, 28 on the FanDuel side tonight. Could have a little bit of upside for more. Could have a little bit of downside for less. Obviously, him being on a new team, not much of a sample size there. Makes him a little bit riskier, but do like the upside that he could present tonight overall. And then at power forward, we got Rui Hachimura once again. He is $5,400 on FanDuel, so a little bit more expensive here as well. So let's see, it is $700 more on FanDuel as compared to DraftKings. Looking for 27 out. I'm currently having projected for 26 tonight, but definitely could have a little bit of upside for more. Obviously, there is a little bit of downside for less. Anytime you're kind of taking that, 4-seat role behind, D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. But when Rui Hachimura is going out there, when his shot's going down, he is always a good GPP option at the end of the day. And then last but not least, at the center position, we're going to go with Jalen Duren here at $7,800. Looking for 39 fantasy points out. He's played extremely well their last 3 games. He's been playing big minutes in those games as well. Tougher matchup tonight versus Anthony Davis, but I think there is some pretty significant upside there once again. So once again, we're looking for 39 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 39, 40 tonight. But if he's playing anything like he's done as of late, he is going to be a very, very good option on tonight's slate overall. Obviously, if you want to switch over to one of the other centers, whether it's Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, or somebody like that, you can definitely do that. Not too much in terms of pay down options at the center position on FanDuel overall tonight, though. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here on FanDuel tonight, you have $24,200 remaining, just over $6,000 per player. So like I mentioned, FanDuel pricing a little bit tighter today. today. Not a lot of values out there, at least early on in the day. We'll see what pops up throughout the day. We're probably going to have to get to a little bit of Miami Heat exposure for some of their cheaper role players just to kind of mix and match with this lineup overall. Should make for a pretty interesting slate. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, February 13th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel and DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be posting up all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. And then also my updated core will be posted about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock. It ultimately might be like 10 minutes before that. Just kind of depends on the day and the news that we do get at that point in time. But I will leave that as a pinned comment. If there's any other additional changes to the core after that pinned comment is posted, I'll leave them as a reply to the pinned comment as well. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just have NBA DFS going on. In terms of the core pick videos, Monday through Friday. This week will be a little bit different because we do have the All-Star game going on this weekend. So I believe there will be no core pick video Thursday and Friday this week. And then I'm not sure exactly when NBA starts up. Once again, I haven't looked that far, whether it's Monday or Tuesday of next week. But once it starts back up, we'll be right back at it once again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the NBA All-Star break this week. A little bit nice to have that break here and there every once in a while, but very excited for the rest of the season for NBA. A lot of interesting news, a lot of interesting moves that have happened as of late. So makes for a very exciting season overall. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you're a brand new user on any one of those three sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's a 100% match on your initial deposit up to $100. For BetUS, it's a 125% match on your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to take advantage of out there. Helps you guys out as you start out that process. Helps me out a little bit on the side as well. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to sports betting or prop betting in general, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.